Welcome back. Nearly 8 weeks since Britain's historic vote to leave the European Union, economists are still forecasting trouble for Britain. But it may not be all bad. The process of the exit drags on, but it's business as usual in Great Britain. FoxBusiness.com reporter Victoria Craig is in the newsroom right now with more. Victoria, good morning to you.
Good morning, Maria. Yeah, that's right. So I traveled to London about 8 weeks after that Brexit vote took place, and I was so surprised because you're right, the sentiment there is business as usual. You walk down the street, pubs are packed, restaurants have people in them, shops are busy with tourists. And, you know, I sat down with a bunch of business leaders, economists, trade experts to talk about why that is. And they said, you know, it's because really nothing has changed yet. And there are kind of two pieces at work here. The first is that, you know, we've seen economic data from July, right after that vote. In July, manufacturing and services sector data kind of took a plunge, but in August they rebounded as businesses kind of figured out that, like I said, nothing has really changed yet. The other piece to this puzzle, though, too, is that the UK economy has 2 years to figure out the mechanics of Brexit, and once that 2 years is over, then they can start renegotiating all of those trade deals with not only EU nations, but also other countries like the US.
You know, the EU could not get that transatlantic partnership deal done. That's dead in the water. We in Britain think we can conclude that in about 2 weeks. We can't wait to get out from under and start making those trade deals with Singapore, with India, with China, and the future is so bright after Brexit. The economists want to play it down because they made all these dire predictions, just like the IMF, which have been proved to be patently false.
Well, what can't be lost on investors, that is one of the most important things, is that their currency has gone down. You've seen the pound get hit, and so that leads to more exports. That leads to more business investment over there. They actually even have a favorable tax rate, especially against the United States. So that's the important thing. And they haven't invoked Article 50 yet, which would start the process for them to leave the EU. They haven't done that yet.
Why is she taking her time with that, Victoria? Theresa May says she's in no rush to invoke Article 50.
Right. So last week she came out and she said, you know, there are two things that we want to do. We want to make sure that we don't have to deal with this immigration issue, which is the big thing that drove a lot of voters to the polls. You know, they don't like the open borders concept that the UK has to kind of abide by if they want to be part of the EU. So that was one part of it. But the other part is that she wants to work out a favorable trade deal. And there are a lot of different options for trade deals. That's one of the things, you know, working out new trade deals can take, I mean, it could take up to decades, or it could be pretty quick depending on what kind of deal you come up with. So that's the thing for businesses right now. And that's what a lot of leaders told me, is that, you know, there are all these different things that have to be reworked. And until the government kind of signals what kind of deal they want to have, and until we kind of know more from the EU about what they want to do, they're going to operate business as usual. So right now, nothing has really changed.
We should point out that the EU needs Britain just as much as Britain needs the EU when it comes to trade.
Germany, we are their biggest customer. Let's just get that straight. Who's buying those German cars? Angela Merkel knows which side her bread is buttered. We will trigger Article 50 when it is in our interests to do so, and the EU can just take a back seat. Bye, bye, bye. Sit down, and we're gone.
Bye, bye, Louise. And you were a part of that campaign. I love hearing you say that.
Angela Merkel's running scared to her party suffering defeat over the weekend.
That's right.
A great movement, not just in Germany, but in other countries, to the right and the far right, because of immigration, because of the burden that the influx of refugees is put on these countries, but also the danger of terrorism and sexual assault.
The whole EU could break up over this. I'm not kidding.
Chancellor Merkel did say she's not going to give favorable terms to the UK, though. She did say that.
She can say whatever she wants.
And she just had a massive defeat. Is it fair to say, you guys, that the euro has been a failure?
Oh, absolutely. We stayed out of the euro, and like you just said,
it was a smart move.
And it was a smart move. We have deflated our currency by about 10%. As a result, we have weathered this short-term shock because we have economic sovereignty. Euro is a disaster. Migrant crisis is a disaster.
All right. By the way, markets in Europe turned around. They're all positive at this point. Victoria, thank you very much.